Good. Good morning. Sabah al khair. Assalamu alaikum. So may I ask everybody to stand up, please? Just to check that you're awake already. Can you stand up, please? Oh, great. That's the morning exercise. Thank you. Khalas, have a seat. So we're ready to start. This morning, the keynote will be in English for everyone, just for you to know. It will be in English, both keynotes. So we will start with Dr. Mohammed Ali from Athabasca University. Dr. Ali's talk is titled ICT, Building Bridges and Solving the Educational Divide. So بالعربي راح نكون مع دكتور محمد علي من جامعة أثاباسكا. عنوان المحاضرة هي تكنولوجيا المعلومات والاتصالات لبناء الجسور وتذليل العوائق في سبيل التعليم. Please, Dr. Ali.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anwar. Assalamu alaikum and good morning, everyone. It's good to see so many young students in the audience and so many excited teachers, and I think you are ready to change the world. I think here's your chance to use ICT to change the world. So here's a brief outline of my presentation this morning. I'll talk for about 20 minutes, and there will be about 5 minutes for questions. I'm going to talk a bit about the problems in education today, a bit about the digital divide, educational divide, use of ICT to build bridges, and look into the future. If you look at those numbers, isn't it amazing how fast it's moving? And what that number shows is the amount of money that was spent in the last 11 minutes for education around the world. $70 million US dollar were spent in education in the last 11 minutes. And so for every day, and if you look at that, it's about 1 million a minute it's spent on education around the world. And each day, government around the world, they spend about $2 trillion US dollars on education every year. And yet we have many, many millions of students who are out of school, do not have access to classroom, and many, many students who actually drop out from schools. In the latest Time magazine, July 1 issue, it says there are 57 million students who do not have access to classroom. So the question we need to ask ourselves as educators is access to classroom the most effective, efficient way to provide education? We really need to think about the existing education paradigm. And I did some calculation, and to give 57 million students access to classroom, governments have to build 190,000 schools at a cost of $19 billion US dollars. And they have to train 1.9 million new teachers to help these students have access to classrooms at a cost of about $10 billion US dollars. So it's quite expensive. And I don't think governments around the world, especially developing countries, have the resources to provide classrooms for students around the world. Also, they have to have costs for school maintenance, which could be very, very expensive, support services for students, transportation to the school, because some students live in remote areas. We also need to provide access to education for the underprivileged in both developed and developing countries. Yes, we do have underprivileged in developed countries in America, Canada, Europe. The homeless, females in some countries do not have access to education. Special needs students, we need to make sure that we provide adequate education so that they can be productive in society and they can improve their self-esteem. We have a lot of students who live in remote locations. We should not forget the indigenous peoples. We have many, many indigenous people around the world, and they are entitled for education. And also we have the nomads. Those are the people who move from one place to the next. And we need to make sure we provide education for those people. So what a waste of intellectual capacity. Here's a young boy out of school, a waste of the mind. I think we need to make sure we provide education for everyone. Intellectual starvation. We usually talk about physical starvation, which is hunger, and we tend to ignore intellectual starvation, which means we are not giving the young people today enough stimulation of the brain in terms of education, so they are not starved intellectually. So we need to provide education to students so that they can be challenged intellectually, so we don't have intellectual starvation. So we need to address the intellectual starvation. We can use ICT to reach indigenous peoples around the world. They have a right to education. And also we need to provide education for all to make sure everyone have a basic education level so that they can function in society. And the problem is our current education system will not help us to achieve education for all and to cater for the different groups of students. So we need to make sure that we have a shift in the paradigm in education so that we provide education for all. So the question is the use of ICT the solution. And I think it's the only solution to provide education for all. Students can use the ICT to interact with each other, use social media. They can learn in their own context. They don't have to leave their community and go to a city to learn. It adapts to the students' needs, to their learning style. They can have just-in-time learning. You can deliver on multiple technologies. We talk about responsive design, where you design your courses for delivery in different technology. Doesn't matter what technology students have. Develop open learning materials, so it's available for free for students, and learn anywhere, anytime. We talk about learnable moment. Each one of us have a peak time of the day that we learn best. Young people learn best in the evening, yet we start school early in the morning, 7:30 in the morning. It's not their peak time for learning, but with ICT, they can learn anywhere, anytime. So we need to transform education using ICT. Very, very important. We need to change the education system. Very important, change the attitude of educators so that they accept ICT to deliver education to students around the world. We need to lobby for free internet connectivity, and I think this is a goal that iEARN should try to achieve. Make sure we have free internet around the world for students so they can access the internet. Work with hardware, software developers to develop ICT for education. And we have to change our attitude about students' ability. We underestimate students' ability to learn on their own. And a good example of a success story is Sugata Mitra hole-in-the-wall experiment, where he put a computer in a slum and students just went on the computer, they learn how to use the computer, they learn how to access the internet, etc. So we need to empower students to learn with the technology. There are many initiatives around the world that provide flexible delivery of education with ICT, and I'll mention a few. The country of Qatar is actually one of the leaders in the Gulf region to use ICT in education. The Qatar Supreme Education Council has the e-education initiative to make sure students use the technology to access learning materials. ICT Qatar is actually providing the ICT infrastructure for e-education in Qatar. And the Qatar Foundation is actually funding many, many innovative research projects on ICT, e-learning, mobile learning. And I was fortunate to receive a couple of those grants. I'm working on a couple of teams, use of mobile technology for English training in the Qatar workplace, and problem-based learning. We are actually designing a template system for professors, teachers to use to design problem-based learning for students, because we need to make the shift away from traditional classroom to more problem-based learning. Some examples of other initiatives: the United Arab Emirates, they are introducing iPads in schools. South Korea planned to digitize the entire K-12 curriculum by 2015 and give student tablets. Brazil has given tablets to teachers, 500,000 tablets. Thailand has given 1.7 million tablets to students. India has planned to distribute tablets to millions of students. And there are similar initiatives around the world. So countries are actually taking the initiative to provide tablets, ICT for students, which I think is very good, but we have another problem. The digital divide is getting smaller because everyone will have computer, tablets. Now we have the learning divide. Because the students will have the tablets, the smartphones, but there are no content, no learning to access. So we are having the learning divide now. And as educators, we have to make sure we design, develop the content so people can access it around the world using their mobile devices, their tablets. So that's something we need to address as educators. We cannot continue the traditional classroom education paradigm because of information explosion. What a student learned today may not be valid next month. And there's a prediction by 2017, information will double every 11 days. So it's better to give the students a chance to actually do the research to find information. We have the new generation of students who are technology literate. They like to do social media. They want to learn with technology. Technology is emerging at a very fast rate. So we have to design our courses for delivery on any technology because we don't know what's going to come in the next 5-10 years. We need to educate students for 21st century skills, very, very important, so that they can be productive and the country can be productive and competitive. Teachers will require new skills, ICT skills, to teach in an ICT environment. We need to look at our existing teacher training program in universities, and they have to be changed to make sure teachers are prepared for ICT. And the cost of education is too high for students. So we have revolution around the world. Students are actually revolting because education is too expensive. And here's some recent photographs of demonstrations around the world. Students can't afford education because it's too expensive. Expensive to build universities and maintain universities. So students say education is a human right, and they should not have to pay too much money to get educated. And we have the new generation of learners. I mean, young babies today are using iPads. Are we ready for these students in the school system? They would like to learn from home. So here are some characteristics of new generation of students, and I actually talked to some of the students at this conference, and it actually validates these characteristics of students. They're the now generation, they're very technology literate, they adapt to technology very quickly. So we need to design our courses so that we can deliver for the new generation of students. And of course, we have the emerging ICTs, which is changing at a very fast rate. I just wrote a chapter for a book, and one of the quotes I use is, if you blink, you will miss it. And that's how fast technology changes. So it's very challenging to keep up with the technology. So it's going non-physical, it's going virtual. So people will not complain about the smallness of the keyboard and the smallness of the screen. So you can actually turn on a keyboard and you can actually use it, a virtual keyboard. And actually I have one that I'm using with my iPhone. And this is what it looked like. You just turn it on and you will do your typing and it will go to your screen, whatever you have on your screen. And you can make it as large as you want. And the next device will have another button, and you will press it, and it will be your virtual screen. So people should not complain that the device is too small and it's not user-friendly, because it's going virtual. You can turn it on and turn it off. And now we have gesture-based interaction, where you actually, if you want to activate a command, you will actually point to it rather than touch the screen. Or if you want to close a file, you go like this, it closes the file. You want to open a file, you go like this, opens the file. It goes with gesture. And also we are talking about emotional computing, where the device will actually detect your emotion, and if you're in not so good mood, it's not going to give you learning materials, or it's going to block your email. So technology is changing at a very, very fast rate. So this gentleman probably not going to get emails to read. 21st century skills. I did a competency profile for a 21st century student, graduate, what they should know to function in 21st century. And these are the major categories that I came up with. And I highlighted the important communication, continuous improvement, problem solving, ICT, teamwork, globalization, research, critical thinking. So what I did is I had graduate of universities, professors, and organizations. I said, what do you need a student in the 21st century to do to have skills? And I came up with a competency profile, and that's what it looks like. So the colored part is the major category, and each major category has subtasks. So this is a competency profile for a 21st century graduate. So we need to build our curriculum so that we give them the skills to function in the 21st century. Verizon did a study where they want to find out what's the ultimate school in the 21st century. And these are the 4 top ones I came up with. Use of digital media. Curriculum will be digitized. Games as a learning strategy, not surprising with the new generation of students. Use of mobile devices and online courses. So based on their research, those are the top 4 for the ultimate school in the 24th century. So look into the future, and for iEARN, I think iEARN should try to achieve these in the future. You're looking at for the next 25 years. Learning materials must be available as open education resources, so it's free for students, so that students from anywhere in the world can access. And a good example is Salman Khan tutorials online. Millions of people are using the tutorials. Develop students to function in the 21st century. How do you develop students' ICT skills? We need a new pedagogy for flexible learning in the 21st century. Bloom's taxonomy was developed in the 50s and 60s. It doesn't apply anymore, where you remember all the information and you apply it because the information changes. It's too much. We should flip Bloom's taxonomy and start with problem solving, the high level. You give students the problem, let them find the solution, do the research to solve the problem. So things like Bloom's taxonomy doesn't apply anymore. We need to reinvent how we deliver education, how we design education. ICT we refer to as green learning because you use less travel, reduce paper. And I think there should be a sense of origin change education system. Rather than build schools, you invest in ICT. You develop courses for delivery on ICT and provide support. We need to redesign our teacher training program. Get our students to do peer-to-peer tutoring. Get them to teach each other. The best way to learn something is to teach someone else. So get students to teach other. Education has to be learner-centered rather than teacher-centered. And we need to make sure we have education for all. And I was very fortunate to do a guest presentation at UNISA, University of South Africa. And I was walking out, I saw this powerful quote by Nelson Mandela. Education is the most powerful weapon you can change the world. And we need to change the world because of all the conflicts that we have today. Very, very important. And I have a short video clip that I'll show you before I finish, and I open it up for question.
अंदर कहाँ गए?
बच्चे को स्कूल में पढ़ाना है।
एडमिशन फुल है।
अरे भाई साहब, गांव में स्कूल नहीं है तो कैसे पढ़ेगी? मेरे पोती को भर्ती करो। गांव में स्कूल नहीं है तो कैसे पढ़ेगी? अरे वो पढ़ेगी।
एक स्कूल में सबको कैसे पढ़ाऊं? आइडिया
Good morning, children. Good morning, children. Chup.
Good morning, teacher. बोलो. Student of the Year is Lakshmi Raghav.
What an idea, Sarchi.
So that shows the power of a simple mobile phone, how you can use it to provide education to people around the world. So we just have to be creative in the use of ICTs. Thank you very much, and we have some time for questions.
Thank you, sir. I'm the student from iEARN Taiwan, and the first question I want to ask is, will you share the PowerPoint to us, because it's a little bit fast. So I'd like to have the link and all the data in that. And also I'm wondering, I heard that in India, I think the ICT, one of the most important factor is the internet. But in this demo at the last part of your presentation, there's a usage of telecommunication, not on beside the internet. So what do you think about the ICT beside the internet technology? Is there any new research it's working on, like the video shows? Yes, that's my question. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, I will arrange to share the slides if you're interested. Yes, the trend is to put everything on the cloud. So we talk about cloud computing, cloud learning, cloud tutoring. So with the cloud, you have to have access to the internet. So I think the internet is very, very important for ICT, for education for all. It's the only way to provide education for all. And that's why I mentioned that iEARN should, one of the big major goals in the next few years is to make sure that everyone have free access to the internet around the world. That's very, very important. So I think the only way to achieve education for all is by the internet. I mean, you can do it other ways by sending a CD-ROM or a flash drive to people, but people in remote locations can't receive those. It takes days to get there. So I think the answer is the internet.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hassan Saeed, and I'm from iEARN, Pakistan. My question is that I basically want to pick you up on one of the points you said about the education for all. Now, I just wonder, because I come from Pakistan and most of the population lies in villages, and I'm not sure how ICT would get there. So, is there a way we can come up with a global curriculum which is applicable everywhere in the villages, as well as the one that we use for the urban areas? Also, what was that? I think that's pretty much all. Thanks.
Okay, yes. Yes, I think there should be global curriculum that everyone in the world should access. And a good example is a course in calculus. I mean, calculus is the same for different countries, but people speak different languages. So should we have one calculus course in different language for people around the world? And I mentioned a good example is Salman Khan tutorials online. There are millions of people who are actually using these tutorials around the world. And I did a keynote with Salman Khan in Saudi Arabia recently, and he mentioned that other countries are asking him to translate his tutorials into their languages. In Brazil, Portuguese, in other countries in different languages. So I think the answer is to have one course for all of the world in different languages, and I think iEARN can take leadership in that also.
Thank you very much for your words. I have not so much a question as much as a wish. I strongly agree with you that technology is a very important tool, a very important mean that we need to spread education. But most of all, in your list about what iEARN has to do, I'm missing one thing, and that's qualified teachers with a heart for education. If we are not capable of using technology in a meaningful way, it will mean nothing. It's more from the past multiplied. What we really need to focus on is how can we make education really meaningful, addressing the needs of the learners of tomorrow. And I think that's why we're here. So I agree with you, technology is important, but could you please mention on the top number 1 of your list, educators with a heart?
Yes, I did mention indirectly by saying that I mentioned it indirectly by saying that we need to redesign our teacher training program. So we train them to function in an ITC environment for delivery and design, yes. So I agree with you, yes, we need to have qualified teachers for ICT. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Ali. Thanks a lot.